Awkward.
And welcome to another exciting adventure on the energy that surrounds us. I'm your host, Michael, joined tonight with my co host, Michelle, who just waved for everybody in Radioland.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming.
And hey, Catherine, thanks for watching. And we are joined tonight by someone I am really glad we got to come on the show because she is incredible with her tours and everything. And so I will let our guest explain that. So without further ado, I give you Annette Luevano King.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here tonight. I am the owner of Ghosts Getaways. And with that, I create trips for people to join. Um, you know, Over the years, I've had a paranormal group since 2011. And I always, come across people that want to do this kind of thing, but just want to try it out. So I started this Ghosts and Getaways. So I just create trips and we go as a group and we have a great time. Great time.
Sounds fun.
Yes, and for the fans of the show, you actually seen Annette back when we were talking about the Myrtles plantation, which was one of her getaways that she put together, which was an amazing trip.
That was so much fun. It was so much fun.
So is that when you went on with them, Michael, or did you go to a different one?
I was with her on that one, and then I got to team up with her again. Was it Dillon Depot? And then you actually joined me when I went back to the Dillon Depot.
Very active. It was great, wasn't it?
It was.
Very cool.
But so I wanted to bring you on too because I know a lot of people when they hear like Ghost and Getaways, they figure, oh, most tour companies do local. You actually do international. And so how do you set that? How do you go about with those locations?
Well, so I first start off by, taking suggestions from people I have a Facebook group. And, I don't want to be the one that decides everything. I want to find out where people want to go. And that's what we do. So this year, actually coming up on Thursday, we're leaving for Transylvania.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and I'm really excited about it. It's been a place that has been on my bucket list for forever. And, with each trip, I start out with finding out where do they want to go. And then like for Romania, we're going to actually be able to see, Dracula's castle. We're going to go to the Hoya Baciu Haunted Forest.
Oh, wow.
We try to hit the places that you read about and you dream about. And I try to make it a reality while keeping it affordable. So, because these things are not cheap for the international. But, last year we did Salem. That was a lot of fun. I just try to do different places. So I'm thinking that I'll probably do another big international trip, maybe in 2025. Kind of depends on the group and the demand. But, and so maybe 2024 is going to be more of a domestic trip kind of thing. But I reach out to different suppliers, tell them what I want, approximate how many people are going to go. I don't want it too big. I mean, I could have taken up to 30 people, but I didn't want to get to 30 people because I still want it to be somewhat intimate.
Right.
Right.
So 12 to 15 is kind of my comfort, my comfort level. And so for this trip coming up, we're coming from all different cities. I have some that are from San Antonio, Houston, and Austin. And then I have some even from Alabama, some people they're not paranormal people, but they found me and they were just interested. And that's the beauty of Ghosts and Getaways. I do have a private group where we do actual hardcore investigations, but this is more of the destination and not so much the investigation. Not that we won't investigate, but it's more about the destination.
Right.
Do you bring pictures and things with you when y'all go on those? Like you say, it's not investigation, it's more about a destination, but do you actually bring the machinery with you in case you want to pop it out? And how receptive are the places for that?
We do take equipment. We try to kind of coordinate amongst the 10, 12, 15 of us because especially with international and going through security.
Right. Oh yeah, that's batteries.
Yeah, it gets a little complicated.
And some of the equipment looks not quite so standard.
Yeah. So we do take stuff. We tend to scale down and not take as much, of course. One of them is going to take body cams. That way it's a little easier. But yeah, we still take equipment. We still, especially when we get to the Hoya Baciu Forest, we definitely want to, see what happens with our gear there. When we do the domestic trips, like we had some when we went to Pennhurst, it actually drove all the way from Texas to Pennsylvania. So when we do the domestic stuff, it's easier to get equipment from here to there. But we try to take something internationally for sure.
Now, what's interesting is I remember when you were setting up Romania, I was talking with you and I was like, and the forest that you mentioned is the forest that I saw on one of Josh Gates's shows. I think it was Expedition Unknown.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, you're going to Romania. You should check out the forest that has the square that no trees grow in.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, I am. And I was like, oh, I was so jealous in that moment.
Yeah, it's just we all watch and read about this stuff, right? And if I can make it happen, I'm going to definitely try my best. I can't guarantee I'll always be able to make, some of those things happen. But, when I leave this planet, I want to have tons of stories. I want to have lots of adventures. And, with my husband passing away last summer, it really reinforced the whole life is short kind of thing. And,
Yeah.
it's a little bittersweet because he was supposed to be on this trip with us. And I think he will, just in a different way now, right? But yeah, there's so many of us that want to do it. Why not come together, harness our energies, harness our funding, and that way we can make it affordable for all of us that way,
I agree, and some of the other places you said, like you went to Ireland, was that correct?
Yeah, so that one was sort of a dry run. And one of my friends on the team, she worked with a company to put that together. So it was kind of our first attempt at doing something like that. And it was really awesome because we actually had enough people. We had like 22 people. So we were able to rent out an entire castle for our group. And that was,
Wow.
yeah, that was really awesome. She did a great job putting that together. Jackie Milligan, I'm not sure if you know who she is. She lives down in Austin, but she was the one that was responsible for that trip, and it was amazing having an entire castle just to ourselves.
Wow.
It was a Blackwater Castle in Castletown, Roche, Ireland. Yeah. And so that was sort of where we're like, well, let's just try this out and see what happens, and then we'll move forward.
So do you have plans on going back, or you're like, okay, I've done Ireland, so now let's pick another country?
No, I would go back if there's enough people that want to do it. I would go back. I mean, I've been to Ireland now 4 times, so I'd go again. It's beautiful, so much history. I mean, you could pick any place in Europe for that matter. I mean, so
Right.
At this point, I'm open to any suggestion. And even if we had a small group, if I could still make it happen and have it be affordable, I would do it. I would do it. Absolutely.
I've always wanted to take one of those little things where you clamp them to the leaves and they make music and sounds. I've always wanted to take them to a haunted forest and and see if the trees would tell us a story. Like
yes.
I've always wanted to do that. So
that's a great idea. I hadn't even thought about that. That's a great idea.
I can hear the plants sometimes, especially on like really crisp nights. And just like in transitions of moons and stuff, I can hear this really low music, and I just already know it's the trees. So I would just love to know, like in the what is it in Japanese, the suicide forest or whatever, where everyone goes in, like do those trees talk to those people that make them do that? Like, can they hear a sound that like hits something in our brain that makes that happen? I mean, because I don't know, just the way that I can hear trees, what if these people can also hear stuff? I just always wondered if that had something to do with it. It's in forests. It always seems to be in forests.
I would think that you would be able to hear something. I mean, why not? Right. So,
I mean,
but I do wonder if something like that has that kind of energy in it, how it sounds different from other places.
It has to, because when you go into like a battle area and the old trees are still there, you can feel that, and you can still smell the gunpowder, and you can still, all of those things still echo so much from those trees that I just can't imagine it couldn't. And did the first people who actually went into those forests that did kill themselves, was that actually the trees talking to them, and then people just started going there because that was what had been known for? But the original people, what was going on in there? Were they just walking through or what? But I would love to hear what the leaves have to say. So maybe you can add one of those to your investigation kits. And
that's a great idea. Yeah,
I'd love to know. Let me know.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Vicksburg, Mississippi last month, and going into the battleground. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can feel a lot. So it didn't take much to just instantly have this huge wave of energy and feeling. And so being able to hear it on top of that would be really profound.
That's crazy. I know some of the old people in like Louisiana and stuff, they'll say the mud will burp words. Like when you get down in the swamp area, they'll say you'll be sitting out and the mud will kind of let air out, and you'll hear, like they swear you hear words like the old timers do. I always thought that was crazy.
That's cool.
And they would burp words. And I was like,
that's really interesting. I hadn't heard that, but I could completely understand that.
Yeah, I could tell. Even when I was young, I was like, yeah, I get that.
I'm still wrapping my mind around water burping.
No, it's mud. Now, those are two different things. You know that. But
No, I know, but I mean, it's like the concept, the thought of that. It's like, you don't think about that. You see the bubbles and you just think, okay, it's a fish or something. You don't think, oh, the water is trying to tell me something.
yeah, everything communicates. So how long have you been
It's
doing
the
this?
mud bubbling.
Mud bubbling. Huh.
Yeah, but they say it talks. Some of the old timers.
Well, so I've been creating trips and investigations for the group ever since I started it back in 2011.
Okay.
But as far as opening it up to public,
Mhm.
that's only been in the last few years.
Right. I
That
think
was
it's a great idea.
and I started out slow with it because, when it's with people you trust, that's one thing. But you start bringing in people you don't know, and then that just changes the dynamic. And I created the Facebook group so that I have an opportunity to see interactions with them, between them and other people. Because the last thing I need is, a bunch of people coming in thinking they're going to just drink and party and stay in some haunted place over the weekend, because I do leave these places with my reputation, have a great reputation with every place we've ever been. I want to keep that because I want to be able to take people back again,
Right.
And, so I have to be cautious with the places I set up, how I do it, when, where, all of that. When we did the Ireland thing years ago, it was an air and castle package, and then everything else we piecemealed it on our own. This time with Romania, I did it a little different, just to see if it was a better option. And this time, we each handled our own air, but instead of staying in one place and then going out day to day, we're gonna stay in Bucharest 2 nights, and then we have a driver and a guide and a photographer that goes with us the whole week from city to city. And so I was going to try it this way. It includes dinner, like 2 or 3 dinners. It includes breakfast every morning. I wanted to put more of it together, more inclusions. Just for the value add, so that, okay, well then if you have your breakfast handled every day, then that's a little bit less money you have to, bring with you. And if all the transportation's figured in, that's one less thing you have to worry about, and even the tours themselves are included.
Wow.
So, it's just, and everyone seems really excited with that this time. So if it works out well, then this might be the way I move forward with future trips.
Might have to come and do that.
It'd be
different. I haven't done one of those. So.
Yeah. So the next one for 2025, as far as another big international trip, I'm toying around with the idea of Scotland.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We're both a lot of Scottish. We're both
Oh yeah. See, I haven't been there yet, so it's definitely on my list. And I was thinking about doing a Scotland, England thing.
Oh yeah.
And then actually going out and investigating the ancient Ram Inn. Very nice. So
I have friends that investigate there.
Really? And I bet you they have an amazing time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm having a harder time finding places in Scotland that we could actually spend the night and investigate. That's not like way out in the middle of nowhere. I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
I can.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Michelle.
I was going to say I could look through my genealogy and see if I can find some places, because I just got registered about 7 years ago under our name in Scotland for my family. So they sent me a nice little packet of things in Scotland and stuff like that for the Frasers. So that was pretty exciting. But I can see if they have some things that correlate.
That'd be great.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Catherine, I think you're in my Facebook group, and if you are, then you'll definitely find out about the next trip. So, and if you're not in my group, you can find it under Ghosts and Getaways. I have a public page as well as a group page, and so you'll find it either way. But that's where you want to be to find out about the next trip, any trips, international or domestic. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I find it interesting that you booked a photographer because I'm wondering, with him, or her, being professional, will they send all the photos or will they say, oh, these are the only ones that turned out? In which case, you may be missing evidence because they're not like we are going, oh, if a picture didn't turn out, that's even better than the
I'm sure whoever it is gives them the raw and then edited ones of the people. That's how I would do it.
Well, I think what they're going to do is send me all the all digital and all raw.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
I'd hope so because, like, there are times like we'll see a picture and there's something blurred in the image and we realize that's something.
Yeah.
That's not, we want that. And somebody who's not a paranormal investigator will be like, oh man, somebody got in the photo. I can't use this one. And it's like, no, we wanted that one.
I don't know any photographers, even super Christian ones, that don't believe in orbs in the pictures, because we know as photographers what a light difference is or a reflection or something. I don't know of any of them that don't recognize orbs or say, oh, there's a little spirit right there in the pictures. So I think it's kind of common knowledge. That'd be interesting to take a poll with photographers just to see how many believe in that. So
yeah, and originally when I didn't have a photographer in the package,
right.
But what happened is when we added the Hoya Baciu Forest, I inquired about one because I'm in hardly any of the pictures. I'm always taking the pictures.
Yeah.
and so I wanted to have, more than just what I take. But then afterwards, when to add a photographer was just another couple hundred for the entire group. I mean, so when you split it up over a dozen people, I mean, it was like $10 or $12 a person of a photographer. It was nothing. And so it just made sense. But then I was thinking about it later, like when we are at Dracula's castle, when we are in the forest, seeing it, hopefully things will show up in the pictures. And when I talk to them, I expressed that I want them all digital. I don't want them made pretty.
Right.
We want to see them raw.
Right.
So that's what I'm hoping for. So, yeah, and I've never done it with a photographer before.
Yeah.
I don't see why it wouldn't work out.
Yeah. As long as they can do dark lighting, take photography in dark settings, then you should be good.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll just see what happens.
Well, and it'll be interesting too, because like you were saying, not being in the photos, but you may get, action photo of, something, somebody hearing something and catching their face going, look, this is when somebody heard something. You can see by the expression that this was not what you would expect. And, it's not something we would think to take a photo of.
Right. And yeah, so I'm really excited about it. And, like I said, I don't see why it wouldn't work out to our advantage. I mean, more pictures for all of us to enjoy and have, for whatever reason. And then evidence-wise, just another source of pictures.
That, and you'll get that most sought-after group photo that never happens.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so I'm just looking forward to it. Like I said, we leave Thursday. We get there Friday. Some of us are staying on after Romania, and we're going to Bulgaria. Bulgaria, the border with Bulgaria is roughly 30 or so miles from Bucharest. And since we're going that far and spending that much money on airfare, I try to see at least a couple of countries. And so I hired another van and driver to pick us up and take us to Bulgaria.
Wow.
And there's a lot of medieval history there. We're going to stay in Old Town in Plovdiv. And again, I don't have a photographer for that leg of it. And there's only 6 of us for that part. The rest of the people were splitting off. Some of them are like one couple. They have an extended overnight in layover in Paris. So they're going to be in Paris for a night.
Horrible, right?
Why not?
Horrible layover.
I know, right? And so
I just feel so
And then,
bad.
yeah, I mean, there's so many ways you can play this, at the end of it. And so some of them are going to stay in Bucharest a couple days. I mean, it's just, yeah. So one of the other places that if it worked out, this would be the only other place that would come in front of Scotland at this point. And that would be going to Italy, because I had found a company that will take you to Poveglia during the day.
Really?
Yes. And if that is legit, then I would want to do Poveglia. I haven't found anybody that will do it at night, and that's okay. I figured that probably wouldn't happen.
No, it's off limits. Last I heard.
Yeah, that's the town you have to have the permit for, right? Like,
Yeah.
Advance.
Well, and there were, like, before the pandemic, there were 2 or 3 companies that I had found, and then the pandemic happened, so never mind. Now, post-pandemic, I've only found 1 out of the 3 that still advertises going to Poveglia.
Wow.
So I figure when I get back from Romania, I'm going to reach out to them and see if they're still functional, if they're still, in business, and do they legally go to Poveglia?
Yeah.
Right.
If you're not flying in that back gate.
Because if they do, I mean, that would trump Scotland for me personally. Now, if the rest of the group wants to do Scotland first, then that's fine. But I've been to Italy, but I've only been to Rome and Naples. I never made it to the north. So,
I'm the opposite. I went to Rome, Florence, Pisa, Livorno, and I didn't get to go to Naples.
Nice, though. That's a nice itinerary you had there.
Well, it was a cruise, so.
Okay. Yeah, that one was a family trip. We went to Ireland. Rome was the second, and then we went to Athens. And of course, the history in Athens is insane. I mean,
I bet the vibrations there are insane. Like, I want to touch the Colosseum in Rome so much. Like, I just want to get near it because I just know it must pulsate. Like, it
the
has
Vatican walls. I couldn't wait to touch the Vatican walls.
Yeah. Did you get it? Did you get the zing?
Yeah. I mean, it was really kind of weird too, because it wasn't what I didn't know what to expect, but it was unexpected. But it made me truly emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. That's how I was when
I was. Were you even able to see the wall? Because when I was there were lines all the way around into the city, and it was like, we were like, what is people lined up for? And they're like, to go in the Vatican. And I was like, really? And this is the thing that surprised me. You could wait in line from the morning and not get in at night, and they don't refund your money if you bought a ticket to go that day. I was like, I found that really
it's crazy,
disturbing that even though you have a ticket, you're not guaranteed to go into the Vatican.
Well, when I booked, so my dad just got back from Italy, and I booked his trip for them, and I told him, you cannot just walk up and get in there. It's just not going to happen. You have to plan ahead for that. So yeah, I tell everybody, and when I have people that reach out for me to book them, I it's a little more to get confirmed, skip the line, walk right in tours, but it's absolutely worth a few extra dollars for that. Right. And Catherine, you definitely need to join us because we have so much fun.
Oh yeah.
And you said you had your passport, so let's do it.
Yeah, and you're going to Gettysburg, right? Soon?
We're doing that in April, coming up. Yeah, and then I have the Stanley Hotel is right now, I've got it planned for July. I don't have a firm weekend yet, but I'm thinking July. And then I'm toying with the idea of a haunted Las Vegas in early October. So
I can tell you, anybody in Texas will join you gladly in July in Colorado.
Yes. I mean, this summer was so brutal.
Ugh.
And I thought, oh my gosh, next summer I need to definitely find a place to crash for a few weeks.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about Mackinac Island in Wisconsin because there's a lot of haunted history there, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great Lakes, anywhere on the Great Lakes, you'll get.
So I thought maybe next summer my kid and I'll work from there. I'll just go for a couple of weeks, get an Airbnb. A lot of my trips that I take outside of the group are scouting expeditions. That was the whole Vicksburg thing. I stayed at 3 different mansions that are now B&Bs. That way, when I plan one for the group, I've been there, I've talked to the people, they know what we're going for. I stayed at, gosh, what was the name of the first one? I stayed at Oak Hall Bed and Breakfast, and then I stayed at Duff Green, of course. Gosh, the first one just slipped my mind. But for anyone that watches my page, you know, I try to travel at least 1 weekend a month. Sometimes I make it out 2. Depends on time and money and the job and the kid and the family and everything else. You know, life gets in the way sometimes. But you know, I'm kind of thinking now that I might just turn these scouting expeditions into like mini road trips for the group too. I mean,
right.
If anybody wants to just tag along for a weekend and check it out, let's go. So, yeah. And I used to do day trips out to different ghost towns just to, you know, figure those out. And, you know, but I've kind of hit all the ones that were close enough for a day trip. And so now it's going to be more of a road trip for some of the ghost towns. What's that?
Like, how do you find ghost towns?
Well, so I research a lot. I go through a lot of the historical commissions. You know, there's a lot of blogs and stuff that if I just Google ghost towns, I come across a bunch. And then some of them I just completely find by accident.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Each state actually has a list of ghost towns in their states.
Huh.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember who puts that one together, but it's a really good, I mean, I don't know that it's, you know, a comprehensive list. I don't know that it's maintained. I don't know. It might be maintained. I don't know. But there have been places that I've found that weren't on there. So I kind of feel like there's just so many still out there that haven't been discovered. There's countless, you know, ghost towns. So I'm just focused on Texas at this point. Although if we do the Haunted Las Vegas, there is one outside of Las Vegas that I figured I'd go check it out. But, you know, there's just so many. I just don't have enough time and money to do all the things I want to do.
Right. And it's interesting, too, when you read, like, the state ghost towns, that when we hear the term ghost town, we're thinking an abandoned city or town. And when I was looking at the list, there was, like, 5 or 6 cities that were like, well, they still have a population of 100 to 200 people. I'm like, well, if they're populated, how are they a ghost town? That's
true. That is very true. And I'm not quite sure what the criteria is for that. But you're absolutely right. There are places that still have people living there. Now, I've been to a few out here west of where I live, and they had like 5. You know?
Right.
But, you know, there's 100 people. To me, that's not so much a ghost town. But, you know, right now, the next one I have is in over Halloween and into Day of the Dead, and that's Terlingua down in West Texas.
Oh, yeah.
I stopped one time to change a flat there. I will ride on the rim out of there next time.
Really?
Staying. Not
I love that place. I love it. My husband and I, before he passed, we took our oldest for her birthday, rented one of the bubbles. That was pretty cool, except that it rained, so we couldn't see any of the stars in Milky Way, whatever. But last year I went for the Day of the Dead festival. It was emotional because he had just passed in July, and I had put his picture up on the altar. It was a really hard time, but I think he loved it. I mean, because he loved that place. Now going again, it's a little different. You know, I'm going to stay Halloween night in Alpine at the Haunted Holland Hotel. After we spend a couple of nights in Terlingua, we're going to go to Marfa and go check out the Marfa lights. I don't know what I think about that. The Marfa lights. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm interested to see your experience on that because
I
don't even know when's the best time to see those.
I'm not sure there's a seasonal kind of thing. I think it's just luck of the draw, honestly.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. People who live there are just like any night. It could just happen any night. But I think it has to do something with the temperatures, doesn't it? Like it's just the way the light's hitting and the temperatures have to be just.
I've seen
right.
so many different theories. I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. And
They're
if
just
anybody in the chat has any experience out there, I'd love to hear about it because I just don't know what to expect. I mean, we may get out there and nothing happen, but it'll be fine anyway.
Oh
I
yeah,
better
I mean,
clear up something. I did not change my own tire. Before we get messages when people watch this, she doesn't change tires. I did not change it. AAA changed it for me. So now we're back. I don't want to get write-ups about you don't even know where to put gas in. I do know where to put gas in. That's it. Anyway.
so note to self: when on a road trip with Michelle,
yeah.
don't expect her to change a tire.
I have AAA and AARP, so we're good.
Well, I don't
Got
change tires either, so don't feel bad.
That's hard work. Like I have the 4-way thing and everything.
Oh
Dad's
yeah.
just do this. I'm like, what? I couldn't just do that. Anything Dad said, just do that. I could never just do that.
Well, I have arthritis in my hands, so it's just not going to happen. But that's okay. I have a service I pay for too. That way if I have to, I'm like all of it. Yeah.
I cover my deficiencies. Yes.
Yeah. So, even the Terlingua trip, I opened that up because you can investigate the ruins out there,
Right.
but we didn't have enough people to rent out the Perry Mansion. So that was a cool place. I stayed there the last time, and the history and the alleged hauntings there. The first time we went, we got super lucky. We were the only people in the entire place.
Oh wow!
Oh
yeah,
wow!
It was me, my husband, and my kid. So, and my husband wasn't. He's like, oh, whatever. It's maybe haunted. I don't know. He didn't believe so much, but he was a good sport going on the trips with me. And if we'd had enough people, then I would have rented the entire mansion. But it just wasn't cost effective if we didn't have enough people for all the rooms.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but the ruins are wide open and nobody cares that you're out there. So, you can investigate day or night. It's great.
Yeah. I'm curious with your site being active for so long and gaining such attention. Do you have locations that will reach out to you and go, hey, have you ever thought about investigating our place here?
I've had a few places that have reached out asking me if I wanted to come out and just visit so I could write about it, things like that. And I'll do some of that for next year. I was already pretty much scheduled out for the rest of this year. And because with my regular job, this is my busy season, so I work a lot. And so I just I didn't want to commit and then not be able to do it or not do a good job on it. So next spring, I'll probably do some of those places and, hopefully kind of develop more relationships with some of the owners, to get some access to places that may not be easily accessible to other people. So I'm working on it. No promises there, but I'm working on it.
Well, I have to say, I love the fact that you're being able to do that because a lot of people think to get access to some of these places, you got to be on TV, have a huge crew, or super large YouTube following that people are like, oh, you're worth our time to come in. So most people won't even try. And here you are. Not saying that you're not, high up, and
but I'm not a show. I'm not a TV show. I don't have millions of followers. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're getting your foot in the door. So it's like, it kind of is like hopeful for everyone to, that your reputation leads and allows you access to where most people wouldn't. That's what I think is great.
Building a path for everyone.
Yeah, and that's why I invite people to join the group because again, it's not cost effective for 3 people to go and investigate, Pennhurst on their own, right? Unless you just want to drop that kind of money. But if we can get enough of us together, and I do for the investigations, I do try to keep them as small as possible, but yet still affordable. The whole thing, like I know that, there are tour companies out there, and I won't mention them by name, that, take 30 people at a time, and you rotate out in shifts and stuff. And you can't do anything with that, but it's good for people that just want to say they were there, whatever.
Right.
So, when we did Pennhurst, I think we had 8 of us or something. Same thing for Eastern State. We just try to keep it, 10 or less. If I can, like, the only thing that was really, really pricey was Trans-Allegheny. Goodness gracious. Because even with 10 of us, we still paid $200 a piece. Yeah. Because they make you get insurance and all that. And which I get it. I get it. But, that one was a pricey one, but everybody was willing to pay it. So we did it. But, and a lot of the people that go have their own teams. I don't care. I know there are some groups out there that, if you're part of this one, you can't be part of another one. I am not that person. If you want to go take your own pictures and video, put it on. I mean, and yeah, why can't we work together? I don't care if you have your own group, as long as you're respectful and it's mutual. Like, we can do this.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I agree, and I always feel like collaborating is better option because you learn techniques or anything that history wise or experiment wise or use of equipment wise that you normally wouldn't get. And that I think is something you're pointing out that a lot of people don't think about is when you're talking about the fame of some of these places, a lot of people be like, yeah, I'm going to drop the money just because I want to say I was there. To whereas if you take a large group, like 10, 20 people, it makes that large chunk of money a lot smaller. And we don't think about that a lot of times. We're like, oh man, I can't afford that. And then it's like, well, yeah, you can if you do it right.
Yeah. And, and like Trans-Allegheny, we could have taken 20 people. It's huge. It's
Right.
huge. Waverly, you could take 20 people and split up. It's big. Other places, I wouldn't do it because it's just not big enough. So it definitely depends on the size of the venue. But so far, for all the years that I've been doing this for the team and now for the group, I mean, we've had nothing but great experiences. We may not have a lot of activity,
Right.
but we come back with some really funny stories, and you really, like with this group going to Romania, 4 or 5 of them, we've traveled extensively together over the years. I mean, you're almost family at some point, and we got a
Right.
few others that are newer, and like the couple from Alabama that we don't really know, but I mean, yeah, it's more than just, at least for me, setting these things up. It's more than just going ghost hunting. It is about learning the history, and in this particular case, going international, learning about the culture, trying new things. There's just so much more to it than just looking for the spirit activity.
Definitely a full rounded activity. It's just like you get to encompass so many different things. It's very unique. I'm just really admire it. It's really good.
Even something like Salem, we flew into Boston, stayed there. We spent the night at Lizzie Borden, again, learning about the local stuff. Yeah, it's cool to say we stayed at Lizzie Borden, but there's just, yeah. And for a lot of people that are really into traveling,
Yes.
The paranormal part is almost secondary for some of them.
Right. I'd be happy just to get to Ireland or Scotland. Paranormal would just be like icing on the cake.
But I mean,
yeah, and if I can find a castle that is small enough that we could rent it for our group, for just us, I'm all about it. Yeah, I mean, the one we stayed in had been seized by Cromwell. I mean, when you think about that kind of history, it's just really cool.
Easy to think that.
Yeah. So, where other places would you want to go besides Scotland? Or, I mean, I know you've been to a lot of places, Michael, but are there any others you would think about? And then Michelle, I want to hear from you too.
I'll let Michelle go first.
I'm kind of a big chicken, so I don't really go like ghost hunting. They just kind of hunt me. So that's kind of hard. But there is when I worked in Shreveport, there's a old music venue there right by a cemetery. I came across it going to get the kids shots or something, and it has a statue. Remember Michelle Carla said she knew the name of it. Yes, that we had. But I would like to go in there, but even the cops won't go down in that area because such a high crime rate and just the ghosts. They're scared of the ghosts because there's this really scary cemetery, and I'm even scared of that cemetery and then that venue. But that venue has got to have so much energy. Like, I would like to go there. Other than that, everything else scares me, so I don't know. Michael, what about you?
So I was thinking about it. So international, I would say addition would be Germany because I have a German last name, so ancestry there. And Holland area, some of that smaller area. And domestic, actually, ironically, Louisiana with the Battle of New Orleans. I think so many people forget about that. And how, the stories there and the legends to go there and see, did the legends true, what really happened, or, what did happen and how much is fact versus made up to embellish the story.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I kind of forget about Battle of New Orleans. We've been to Louisiana quite a few times this year. I'm not quite sure. Louisiana and Oklahoma. It's funny. I hadn't been there in years, and then now we've gone like 4 times. But that's a place I need to really kind of look at. Here lately with Oklahoma, rather, I took my parents to Oklahoma City. They wanted to go there for the memorial. And there were so many other places when I was researching just all over Oklahoma that people I've never even heard of. And then I start to dig in, and there's a lot of cool history. So I feel like there's so much untapped stuff out there, but it just takes the time to sit down and research it.
And what's interesting is my parents and I, when we would, being from up north, we would travel back, through Illinois, and we would pass through Cahokia and visit these mounds. And, just walking, through the mounds, and learning the culture and everything. And it was like a little fun, getting out and stretching from the car ride and, walking through beautiful land. And now I found out there's paranormal activity there. And so I'm like, why couldn't you tell me this when I was there? Why do you tell me now when I have no reason to go to Illinois to where I can make the stopover and, quickly stop by and investigate?
Yeah. There's places on the way back I find out about, my crap, I was just there. I totally missed it. Yeah. One of the places that I did get to see in Mississippi that I was glad to see it was the grocery store where the Emmett Till incident all happened, where he was alleged to have flirted with a white woman and whatever.
Wow. She was a beast.
Oh yeah. And so the grocery store is barely standing. It's
really?
In ruins. Yeah. And wow. There was a group that was trying to save it and to be a memorial for Emmett Till. Right. And they've got a big sign out there, but the trees have overgrown so much, you could drive by it and never know that building was behind the trees.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So did you find the address from like the old newspaper clippings from when it came out? Because I think they wrote the address for the store in the actual article, if I remember it right when I read it.
Yeah, so they did have some copies of the articles, images of it, posted at the Civil Rights Museum in Jackson.
Oh, okay.
And so I hadn't even thought about going out to that place. And then I saw that article and I got my phone out and I'm like, oh, that's just an hour from here. Well, yeah. Hell. So I grabbed my kid and we took off. I'm like, I'm going to go check it out now.
They'll mail a text in an hour. We're like, grab the tea, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Bryant Grocery, and
Oh wow.
it's just I still felt the tragedy out there. I could
Oh
still
yeah.
feel it. Um,
God, what a horrible story. I'm so glad they made the movie about it and finally brought it to light because it was kind of forgotten about. I
yeah,
mean, I didn't learn about it in school. I learned about it in California when I was out there as a young adult. So, I mean, I'm glad it's out there.
it made me admire his mother more than ever.
What a woman. What a
What
woman.
she went through, um, you know, I mean, of course, obviously Emmett,
Oh,
his, it was so unfair, and
baby.
I
Mm.
mean, they're animals. They're just animals, right? And so to know what his mother went through and his family, and and how they took that experience and moved forward with the civil rights movement. I just admired that woman,
I
and
can't imagine looking at the newspaper and seeing your son that baby was just beat so bad. Oh,
yeah, and the museum, the Civil Rights Museum, is amazing. I mean, the way they set it up,
hmm.
I mean, it takes you right through all the hard times. But then when you go through it in chronological order, you come out at least feeling better about the world again,
Really? How?
And go ahead.
Oh, I think that's fascinating that you come
Yeah.
out feeling better.
Yeah. I mean, they don't focus only on the horrible parts,
Oh, okay.
but they have a jail cell in there set up, and they had videos playing along different exhibits. And one of the ones that really, really touched me was during the wars, various wars. They had recordings from Black soldiers. And when they had the German POWs here from World War II, they had them out working the fields as well.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the recordings, they said they treated the POWs better than they treated the Black soldiers.
Man.
And that was a painful thought for me, that they served our country and they still weren't given respect as much as these enemy POWs that we had.
They're trying to kill us. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so the energy from the artifacts that were there, you feel it.
Yeah.
You absolutely feel it.
And little known fact that the fact that they made those Nazi POWs work next to the African Americans, that was an insult to the Nazis,
Mm-hmm.
because they viewed, if you had an African American soldier captured by the Nazis, they did not normally take them prisoners. They were like, nope, you're not worth our time. We're just going to leave you here. You're done. There was
Yeah.
like no mercy for them. They viewed them as subpar.
Yeah, and the columns in the museum, from ceiling to floor, have names and dates of all of these people that were lynched. And so I looked, I mean, then column after column, and I'm like, it just really gets you in the heart. And at the grocery store, like, I wonder,
Yeah.
any energies that are remaining there, any hauntings that are there, because like I said, just getting there, getting out of the car,
Mm.
the first thing I felt was tragic. That was the first thing that hit me,
That's a hard feeling.
And there are some little homes around it, so I wonder what they experienced there
Yeah.
at different times. So, even though we were there for Vicksburg, we didn't. Of course, I didn't investigate at the grocery store. I didn't want to. I wasn't going to do that. But
Yeah.
it was at that point. It was about the history more than anything else.
Yeah.
And because that building will probably come down sooner rather than later, I wanted to say it. The four walls are still standing, but barely. There's no roof or anything.
Oh wow.
It's just caving in. There's trees growing in and out of it. I mean, it's just in bad shape, and it's unfortunate that they couldn't get the funding to maintain it and set it up as a monument. But
Wow.
yeah.
Those
So,
trees are probably the only thing holding those walls up.
yeah, and it's funny because you can see there's like really buried in the trees on the wall. You can see some signs and stuff, but you can barely make them out. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
so cool.
yeah. So Mississippi really got to me this year, and so I want to go back. It was Anchuca Mansion was the first one we stayed in. I do recommend Duff Green. That place, of course. I mean, that comes up a lot in some of the paranormal blogs and things, but gorgeous, gorgeous place. And they still have in one of the rooms damage from a cannonball that they've covered with glass and stuff. But that way you can see where the cannonball came in.
Oh, cool. So like just hit the plaster and the plaster's all like caved
Yeah,
in.
I mean it's in the roof and they just covered it with glass so you can see it.
That's cool.
And I did the ghost tour in Vicksburg and he pointed out houses, the damage that you can still see on a couple of the old homes. And then one of them had this beautiful, big, massive gate and it was dented in. And he said, that's from a cannonball. So, but I love that those owners didn't fix it.
Yeah. They're like, how cool. I had a cannonball through my gate. Look.
And that's how Gettysburg is when we went the first time.
Yeah.
You can see damage in some of the buildings. They left it there, which is awesome.
They haven't
Well,
been
and
there.
even still is some of them, like a lot of the battlefields, they said they went to get it out, but you really can't because you don't know if that ball still has any active element to it, to where if you were to hit it to knock it free, you might cause a secondary, because you don't know if it exploded on impact, the charge in it, or if the charge is still sitting there.
Oh gosh, that's something to think about.
About the ball actually having a charge. I thought it was like a combustion thing or blow up thing from the gunpowder, and then the ball just shot through. The ball has something in it?
Well, some of the balls had lit charges on them, and some were lead balls, and so.
Okay, I'm thinking of only the lead ball ones, not the ones where you light and shoot.
Yeah, they're like the mortar shots. Those are a charge.
Huh.
And so that's why you would see, like in the movies when they or in like pictures, you would see like the pattern where they're down is like sprayed outward, is the ball exploded in midair.
Huh.
And that's what caused the damage.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Now I've got to go back and think of all the places I've been and go, oh. Okay.
Yeah, it's just fascinating. So, I'm working on the calendar for next year and just trying to find some places that would be interesting beyond just the paranormal aspect.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, surprisingly enough, we are approaching the end of the hour.
That was fast.
That was fast. We'll have to do it again. This is fun.
So here's the link I put up in the chat room in some of the active spots, and up on screen is the Facebook address that I got for your group, so people can find it, that we were talking about Ghosts Getaways.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun and get to meet new people and learn new things and make some new friends. Yeah, it's awesome.
I think it's great.
I love how you do it kind of like I do, where when I'm going, like when I would go to Yorktown, I would look at what's around Yorktown to go and scout out, because you're there and you have to spend the night, so you might as well do, look for other stuff to do. And when you I found out, with Louisiana back in March, it was like really cool how we did the Gothic jail. Then we went to the next morning to the cemetery, or afternoon, and then we went to the main spot. And I loved how we were picking up different spots along the way, and it's like, yeah, that was really cool to me.
Do you remember when we were getting our tickets for the tour? They talked about the cemetery with the grave houses.
Yes.
So I found one of them, and they're fascinating. And I did a I did some pictures and I think I did a video about the grave houses. And I don't know, they're just really interesting. Puerto Rico has something similar in some of their cemeteries. But yeah, you can find my pictures and videos in the group on the public page. And of course, I got a TikTok and an Instagram. Try to, share pictures and videos so that if people want to learn about it and go on their own, then at least they have a little bit of an idea of what's out there.
Right. And so if you're TikTok fans, it's real easy. Just look for Ghosts Getaways and you'll be right to her page.
Yeah. I try to make it easy. That was a fast hour. Holy crap.
That was. I was looking at I had to do a double take looking at the clock and going, really?
Wow. Good topic. So easy to talk about.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. That was a good hour.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun to hear about how you're, the thoughts that go into and how it's the people in the group that help determine where to go, and it's not you doing all the legwork and research and going, hey guys, who wants to go here? That it's a group effort.
Yeah. And for this trip, our accommodations, like I said, it's got a couple of dinners and breakfast every morning, all the tours, all the transportation. It was roughly like $2,100 per person.
Wow.
That was going to the forest. And I think we're going to visit 5 cities in that time period. So, similar, I looked at similar itineraries for other companies and they were charging quite a bit more. But,
Right.
And they were also having like some of the paranormal celebrities. And I personally choose not to do that to keep it more affordable for us and to keep it smaller. I could do that and have 30 people, but I want to offer an alternative to people who don't want to do it that way,
Well, you're a celebrity.
Maybe in my own mind, but
No, I will admit I went to Dylan because your name was on it, and I was like, oh, this is a Ghosts Getaways. Wow, there's something, what's going on over here? Because I was like, yeah, if Annette's over here, something's going on, and so that's part of what drew me there.
Oh, well, thanks. And we did have a great time, didn't we? So when you went, you called me, I'm like, heck yeah, I'll go with you. That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I try, international, of course, like I said, it's not cheap, but it doesn't have to be super expensive either. And I try to find that sweet spot for everybody. Yeah. And we pay it out. It's like you have to pay it all at one time. People pay a deposit. You've got a year to pay it out. I make it as easy as I can.
Well, that's convenient.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Annette, for coming on the show, and I'm glad we got to promote your Ghosts Getaways and you. And thank you, Michelle, for coming on and co-hosting.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you to Catherine and everybody in the chat room. We appreciate you all watching and asking questions and commenting. So, Michelle, how about you send us out?
Thank you for having me on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And here, we really enjoyed it. Thank you. And that's my part. Your turn, Michael.
Wow, that was fast. I'm over here looking at trying to find something. I'm like, oh, it's already back on me.
I don't know what I'm doing. I just put makeup on, sit here, and talk. That's my job. You handle all the other.
All right. Well, from all of us at the energy that surrounds us to all of you, wherever you are in the world watching, have a blessed night, a beautiful day, and a wonderful morning. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
You have just listened to the energy that surrounds us with your host, Michael Kopf. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode.